Well, hello. We're going flying today, but I've made a bit of a boo-boo. Yeah, lesson learnt. Always fill up with fuel when you land, because you never know if there's going to be any fuel when you come to go again. Yeah, I got caught out. I tend not to fill up with fuel when I land because I don't know quite how many people or how much baggage I'm going to be carrying when I take off, and sometimes here at Red Hill the runways can be quite soft, or if we're on the hard runway it's very short, and I want to be able to accurately calculate my performance. But I've been caught out today because I've come in with very little fuel. I've landed and there's a NOTAM saying there's no avgas available today, which happens from time to time. So always fill up with fuel when you land, or at least fill up to an acceptable level, perhaps tabs. Just going to have a look in the fuel filler here. Oh, that's quite low. Clear prop. So the purpose of today's flight is to meet up with friends actually. We're due to be meeting up at Elstree, and with there being no fuel here at Red Hill, I'm going to have to make a fuel stop en route. I've decided to do that at Blackbush. I've calculated how much fuel I think I have in the tanks. I think I've got 67 litres, and that's based upon knowing my aeroplane. And if you're going to play with these figures at any time or push them, make sure you know your aeroplane, how much it burns. You get a feel for that over time when you do several flights and you monitor how much fuel you've burned. And I know what I took off with 3 flights ago. I know how long those flights were. I've got a figure for taxiing fuel as well. And as I say, I've come up with 67 litres, which gives me approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes of fuel. I need to land with 30 minutes of fuel to be legal, and the flight over to Blackbush is 20 minutes.
Golf Bravo Mike, India Victor, hold position after departure, Buckland departure, VFR, not above altitude 1,400 feet.
Hold position after departure, Buckland departure, VFR, not above altitude 1,400 feet, Golf Bravo Mike, India Victor.
Golf India Victor, correct, via Alpha 1, runway 25 left, surface wind 240 degrees 11 knots, clear for takeoff.
Via Alpha 1, runway 25 left, clear for takeoff, Golf India Victor. The issue will come if Farnborough starts messing me about with my controlled airspace transit and I have to hold. That's going to be a delay, and also if I need to go around at Blackbush for any reason, that's a problem too. So I'm going to be monitoring this very closely, making sure that I've got my sort of point of no return, in other words the point at which I'm going to divert back to Red Hill or Biggin Hill.
The calculations I've made for the amount of fuel in the tanks is a worst case scenario. I likely have a fair bit more than I'm estimating, but nonetheless I don't like operating on such tight margins.
Good power, temperatures and pressures are in the green. Airspeed is increasing. There's 50 knots.
As soon as I'm airborne, the clock starts ticking. I need to work out the latest time I need to be on the ground with my 30-minute reserve intact.
So we took off at 9:05, our bingo time is 10:25, 30-minute reserve, half an hour before that, which is 09:55. Golf India Victor Buckland, request frequency change, Farnborough radar 133.440.
Golf India Victor, score security, free call Farnborough radar.
Score security, goodbye Golf India Victor.
There's no time to waste, and things are going to go very quickly, so I get the radio frequencies set early.
Blackbush is 122.305.
30 basic service, QNH service correct.
Farnborough radar, Golf Bravo Mike, India Victor, request zone transit.
Golf Bravo Mike, India Victor, Farnborough radar, pass your message.
Golf Bravo Mike, India Victor, PA28 Arrow, Red Hill to Blackbush, 1 mile north-east Dorking, altitude 1,800 feet, QNH 1015, VFR. Request zone transit to Blackbush, please.
Golf Bravo Mike, India Victor, Squawk 0460, basic service, QNH 1015.
Squawk 0460, basic service, QNH 1015, Golf India Victor.
I have just enough fuel for a 10-minute delay. If my routing coincides with IFR traffic arriving or departing Farnborough, being made to hold before I cross their airspace will eat into that buffer time. So I'm hoping my luck is in.
Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, cleared to cross farmer controlled airspace, VFR, not above altitude 2,000 feet, route to the east of Farnborough's overhead.
We're on, and the only concern now is how busy the Blackbush circuit is going to be. Now that the engine temperatures have stabilised following my takeoff, I adjust the fuel mixture to save every last drop.
I'm using the EGT to lean to peak EGT, which is best economy cruise. So the join at Blackbush is overhead at 1600 QFE, which is 1900 QNH. It's going to be left hand on 2.5. It's a little busy join this. I've done a video outlining this whole airspace here, and ordinarily I would route to the east, northeast of Blackbush and then come back in, but given the fact that we're a bit low on fuel, perfectly legal by the way, perfectly legal, we don't want to waste any time, so we will make a more direct route, which involves quite a high workload because we've got a frequency change to do at the last minute. Temperatures and pressures are in the green, PI is aligned, fuel we're okay for now. As we say, we've got 9:55 is our 30 minutes time, so we've got to be on the ground by 9:55, currently 9:13. Our divert time back to Red Hill, 20 minutes back to Red Hill, 09:35 we divert to Red Hill. Just to beam the east of the overhead now, so once we cross the extended line, I'm hoping to get a frequency change over to Blackbush. Golf India Victor, request clearance to the north and a frequency change to Blackbush 122.305.
India Victor, can you escort during the circuit to Blackbush? Contact Blackbush on 122.305.
Take the score, contact Blackbush 122.305, Golf India Victor. Blackbush information, Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, 3 miles to the southeast, request aerodrome information.
Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, Blackbush information, we're using runway 25 for the left-hand circuit, QSE 1003, 163 active in the circuit.
25 left-hand circuit, QFE 1003, joining overhead, runway 25, Golf India Victor. Reds, blues and 3 greens we have.
Golf Alpha Mike, final, touch and go.
There was only one other aircraft in the circuit which I had to slow down for to integrate with, but I was on final before I knew it, still with enough fuel in the tanks to get me back to Red Hill, or a nearer airfield actually if we had to, well before reaching our estimated minimum fuel. I'll fill up with tanks when I land, and we can all see how much I actually had left.
Oh, it's turbulent. Oh, blimey. Oh! Bring a bit of speed in because of that. Well, that was a hairy landing. I don't know if you saw all the turbulence there on. I was thinking I'm going to go around in a minute because we got it stable again, and then at quite low level we got some gusts. Oh, so that's leg one of our flight. In the next leg we'll get some fuel in, and in the next leg I'm going to talk to you about the aviation cliches I love and hate. There are some real horrible cliches, lazy cliches that I hear over and over again, and it bores the pants off of me.
Vertigo Covers is one of my valued channel sponsors. They're a British company based in Hampshire, and they make lightweight, modern, weatherproof covers for your aircraft. The covers are easy to put on and take off and cost less than you might think. Vertigo has patterns for all the popular models, and you can place your order online. Get in touch with Andy and the team at Vertigo Covers today to ask any questions.
So it'll be interesting to see how much fuel we take. The tanks take 272, so 272 minus that figure is what was left in the tanks. I've probably been overly conservative, and it was probably no issue whatsoever. So it was 180, which means that's 90 litres I had in there. I had 90 litres in there. That's like 2 hours worth. I was panicking over nothing. So I stopped at the Pathfinder Cafe for a sausage bap and a cup of tea, which was very refreshing. Seemed to be very, very busy in there. There was a long queue, but it passed quite quickly, and the service was very swift as well, so thank you to them. So our route takes us north out of Blackbush. We'll climb to 2,300 feet, past White Waltham and Wickham, keeping to the west of those areas, keeping to the west of the London CTR, and then we'll make a left turn through the corridor, that very busy spot between Heathrow and Luton, over to Elstree. Probably going to make an overhead join onto, I think it's runway 26.
Golf India Victor, runway 25, surface wind 25010 knots, take off your discretion.
Taking off runway 25, Golf India Victor. Power is set, T's and P's are in the green, airspeed is increasing. So let's talk about cliches. I often find that people use cliches in responding to my videos in the comments. The most obvious one that usually comes up, and I find it quite annoying, is if there's any doubt, there's no doubt. And usually that comes up when the weather's been a bit rough and I've taken off and I've had to either come back, divert or something like that. And I find it an annoying cliche because if there's any doubt, there's no doubt. There is always doubt. The weather is not an exact science. You can have doubts about whether the circuit's going to be busy. Well, if there's any doubt, there's no doubt. Let's stay on the ground. If there's a prop 30 of a light rain, or light rain, might be heavy rain, there's a bit of doubt. Best not fly. So I'm not a big fan of that particular analogy. There's a similar one, which is usually trotted out at the same thing. Better to be on the ground wishing you were up there than being up there wishing you were on the ground. And it's a fair, it's a fair comment, but it's the same thing. And all of these cliches kind of suggest, don't take risks. The thing is, we do take risks all the time. When we go out to catch the bus, when we get in the car, when we walk down the street, when we fly, there's risks, and it's all calculated risks. There are some other cliches. I'm sure we can all remember some of them. I bet you're thinking of some of them now. There's a good one. Any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. Any landing you can walk away from on the aircraft still intact was a great landing. And that cliche is usually used to comment on somebody whose landings are a bit firm, probably during training. Keeping a good lookout up here, past White Waltham and Wickham, busy little areas along here. Another one in the same sort of vein as the weather ones, there are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are no old, bold pilots. In other words, if you're a bold pilot, you take too many risks. I think you've got to have a certain amount of being bold to go flying. It's not for the faint-hearted, is it really? But I take the point, you don't want to be reckless. Another one that's quite apt for today's flight. The only time you can have too much fuel is when you're on fire. Yeah, that's true. But then there are other times when you can have too much fuel and you wouldn't be able to take off because of poor performance, the runway surface, the weight. So let me know your favourite aviation cliches and maybe your least favourite aviation cliches. I'm sure you can think of some more. Which ones annoy you, and what do you think of the ones that I've talked about already? Elstree information, Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, 15 miles west inbound, request aerodrome information.
Golf Bravo Mike India Victor, good morning, it's 26 right hand in use here, QFE 1003.
Well, here we are at Elstree. Got a crowd waiting. I always try and wave at the little children, but I've also got to make sure I don't crash into something whilst being distracted by doing so.
If you like to keep up to date with all the pertinent changes affecting pilots, particularly in the UK, my monthly pilot briefing podcasts are a must listen. They come out on the second Sunday of every month on your favourite podcasting platform and on my separate Pilot Briefing Room YouTube channel. The latest episode covers the forthcoming changes to the Manchester low-level route, grass strip, flying tips, and an update on the threats of aerodrome closures. The link to the latest briefing is on the screen and in the video description. So good to fly into Elstree, a nice day, a bit of weather around that's probably putting a few people off, so not as busy as it usually is, but the cafe is certainly very busy, lots of kids, lots of spectators, and this is what I like about airfields like this, lots of members of the public coming to watch the aeroplanes, and that's how we inspire the next generation of pilot for sure. Let me know if you can think of any interesting aviation cliches to add to my list, put those in the comments. But I'll see you very soon with the next episode of The Flying Reporter. Thank you for watching.